What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of The Game Plan, the fantasy football show for every single one of you fantasy managers out there. I'm the authentic one, your host, your boy, Matty Kiwoom, joined, of course, by the analytics whiz, my man, Evan Ringler. Evan, what's up, dog?
What's up, Maddie? Glad to be here. It's been a rough week for us in fantasy. A lot of injuries, but we're gonna help people out tonight, I think.
Man, I mean, it's not officially fantasy season until you're just completely scrambling to replace injured players. I mean, that is
Yep.
officially when you know the bullets are flying, you're in the trenches, you're in the fantasy matchups. I mean, in my home league, I was projected to get absolutely destroyed by 30 points. He has Bucky Irving, he's got Trey Benson. It's like all of a sudden these projections start to balance out. But yes, of course, we're going to help you manage all of these injury waters because this week we got two great segments. And then, of course, we're going to answer all your questions. So, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the game plan. Make sure you subscribe to the Player Profiler channel. Make sure you like this video. Leave a comment. Who are some of your favorite week 5 streamers? And then, of course, if you stick around to the end of the show, we will end each and every one of these shows with your questions being answered. Doesn't matter if it's start or sit stuff or trade things, whatever it is, if it's in the chat, we'll make sure we're going to answer it here on today's show. But the meat and potatoes of everything, what we're really getting down to the skinny today, we're talking, of course, week 5 streamers. Who do you need when you need, an injury replacement or someone's not doing it? Who do you need this week? Bye weeks start this week. If you need someone to fill in, we got you here for some week 5 streamers, but we're also going to go and give you guys our biggest takeaways, our most important tidbits from the first month of the fantasy season. So get out your pens, get out your papers, get out your notebooks. Let's go. It's time to game plan for week 5, baby. All right, we're starting with takeaways from the first month. I cannot believe it, but we already have 4 NFL games to analyze, 4 weeks to break down. So, Evan, give me your first takeaway from the first month.
My first big takeaway is that the 2025 running back class is as advertised. In the Player Profiler rest of season rankings right now, you'll find 3 rookie running backs in the top 12, 5 in the top 24, and 8 in the top 36. Even if Jeanty and Hampton haven't absolutely crushed like we thought they might, it's clear that they are very good players and they'll get the necessary volume that we want in fantasy. Cam Skattebo, stud. Judkins, Woody Marks, surprisingly early hits. Wasn't expecting those ones to be so early, but they're here and we're loving it. And then we're seeing flashes from guys like TreVeyon Henderson and RJ Harvey. Flashes of the immense upside that we're hoping for. I think that can still happen. And then plenty of fun handcuffs and stashes as well, like Bashal Tootin, Bill Krosky Merritt, Ollie Gordon, Dylan Sampson. I think that this may indeed be our version of the generational 2017 running back class.
It's really tough to argue that when you look at the class overall, coming out of the NFL draft, it was almost a foregone conclusion that there was going to be 4 or 5 true hits, early hits.
True.
And if you were to tell me, hey, listen, Woody Marks is going to be super relevant, maybe as relevant as any of the running backs in the class, and Cam Skattebo is going to be worth every bit of the 105 if you would have taken him there, I'd say then this class absolutely destroys.
Mm-hmm.
But, let's go to current times. All of these rookie running backs seemingly are producing value already, except for, I'll say, the one that people were taking in the top, 5-6 rounds, TreVeyon. You said flashes, but you got to talk to my TreVeyon guys out there. So there's a lot of people who are rostering TreVeyon Henderson. Should they be happy? Are they next to be part
I was
of this
actually thinking
class?
I was thinking you were going to throw a little Caleb Johnson at me. That one I'm
Caleb
a little more
as well.
scared
That's a good
on.
one. Yeah. Okay. Talk about
that
both.
one I don't know if he's going to hit. We've barely seen him hit the field at all. Warren was out this past week and he still barely played. Gainwell just totally dominated him. So that one I'm unsure of, but that's why we're so excited about these later hits like Woody Marks or, Bill Krosky Merritt, Ollie Gordon, Dylan Sampson. And then on TreVeyon, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Just trust the talent. It's all going to work itself out. Maybe he's not a top 24 running back as a rookie. That's okay. That's totally fine. He's going to get better as the season goes along. I believe that. And into 2026, 2027, he's going to be awesome for our dynasty teams.
I mean, you have to remember, even back, in Christian McCaffrey's rookie season, he wasn't the world beater that we still know him as in 2025. So it's time to be patient, I guess, on a guy like TreVeyon. But it is true. I mean, the 2025 class has been special, even in the first month.
We really needed it too.
Listen, the great renaissance of the running back position. It has truly changed things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to piggyback off that. I'm going to talk about running backs as well. And after this first month, what I've come to realize, my biggest takeaway, and I know since I've come up with these show notes, it's since softened slightly. But after a month, I'm willing to accept that the Bellcows with the smaller frames should not be slept on. I have been fading the guys like Devon Achane, James Cook, Bucky Irving, these smaller framed running backs I've been fading for years, and I have to wave the white flag, Evan, because James Cook continues to be a fantasy producer, mega producer, top 2 running back in fantasy football right now. Achane is just a walking 20-point a week type of running back. The passing volume is there. Tyreek Hill is out. Do I think that means, Jalen Waddle and Malik Washington are going to eat? Sure, maybe a little more. But what that really means is that we're going to see 8 to 9 targets to go to Devon Achane. That's how good he's been. And I know Bucky's hurt now in a walking boot. Seems like he's going to miss a week, maybe 2. Even so, he's been such an ROI type player. If you took him in rookie drafts, or you picked him up on waivers in redraft a year ago, and then this year maybe you drafted him early, he's still been fantastic through this first 4 weeks, 1 month. So for me, I just have now, I have to tell myself, no, you are not going to fade all the small frame bell cows. If they're in line for volume, they have to be in line for your fantasy team. And I'm waving the white flag, Evan. I'm done. I am done resisting that these small running backs can't be bell cows, because they've proven me wrong time and time and time again. So I'm over it. I'm waving the white flag.
Yep. I think it's about time. The game's a changing. As long as your running back has speed and can handle a workload and evade some tackles, it's really all you need. You don't need the guy that's bruising up the middle and truck sticking guys. That's kind of out of the game in a lot of ways now. And these 200-pound or less backs are taking over.
So Evan, let the people know, we got 3 takeaways each. What's your second takeaway?
My second takeaway: only a few tight ends actually matter in fantasy football. And this is the case pretty much every year. It's just kind of, it gets to this point and I think about it and realize, oh yeah, every year there's only 3 or 4 guys that mean anything at the tight end position. This year, in terms of just usage, not even looking at production, there have been 4 tight ends that have separated from the pack: Ferguson, McBride, Tyler Warren, and the shocker is Juwan Johnson. We'll see if that lasts. I have my doubts. After that, there's a giant group of like 20 different tight ends that have pretty similar outlooks. Tucker Kraft, Brock Bowers, they certainly have more upside than a lot of those guys. And, Kelsey and Hawkinson have been more disappointing than those other guys. But at the end of the day, there's been barely any difference in the usage of guys after like tight end 5 to 20. They're just kind of all in the same bucket. And the lesson I'm learning from this, man, is fade tight end and redraft. Just take your upside swings late. Sure, you might have hit on McBride in the second round of your redraft league, but you also could have just waited 6 rounds and taken Tyler Warren, or waited until like 8 rounds and taken Jake Ferguson. And then one more note: if you happen to have 2 quality tight end starters on your roster in redraft right now, trade one of them away. You'll be able to find others off waivers if you need them.
The great realization, as I like to call it, that tight ends simply don't matter. It's just when you look at certain tools. So if you go to like South Harmon, they do a warp tool, wins over replacement. That perfectly paints the picture. Tight ends don't matter. They don't matter. They don't. And I'm glad you bring it up because, Evan, the people listening, the people game planning with us, they need to know. Because some people, like, I'll be honest, they have, Fannin and they have Ferguson and they drafted McBride and they're looking and going, I have all these tight ends. Should I start them all? No. Trade all of them. Trade whichever you can get. And whichever the third that you stick with, that's the guy you play. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So yeah, I think it's a great point after a month that tight ends are. There's only a few that truly make a difference. The rest you can kind of pick out of a bucket. So you bring up redraft strategy. My second takeaway is actually in the same vein. We're talking redraft strategies. So my second takeaway after the first month is I will no longer use the term safe when crafting my redraft strategy. I will not draft based on volatility or safety any longer. Because a month in, I thought for sure I'm going to buck the trend. Everyone's going to be taking running backs. All the running backs are going to get hurt. They didn't last year. Regression to the mean, yada, 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 yada. And now I'm looking at the ADP data, Evan. So I've been pouring through for the show, looking through all the ADP data for this. And I look through and go, Jamar Chase, 101. Probably a bust.
Bust.
Bijan Robinson, hit. Saquon Barkley, hit. Jahmyr Gibbs, hit. Justin Jefferson, borderline. Bust. CeeDee Lamb, injured.
Bust.
Amon-Ra, hit. First true receiver hit. Malik Neighbors, gonna be a bust. Sorry.
Sad.
Ashton Jeanty, gonna be a smash, turning it around. Christian McCaffrey, smash. And it's just like, all of these running backs that I was passing on are smashing. And all of these receivers, even if you keep going down the list of receivers, Nico Collins, wide receiver 6, hasn't really been producing like you drafted him to. Brian Thomas hasn't really been producing like you drafted him to. But then you go down the list. Jonathan Taylor, smash. Achane, smash. No, you know what? I'm not going to try to. It's so hard to predict the future. It's so hard for us to, rub the crystal ball and see the future and see how it's going to play out. But I'm just done betting on injuries. I'm just going to understand that they're there. It always can be a part of this game. It's football. It's brutal. These are gladiators. They're going to get hurt. But I'm done trying to predict who gets hurt and who doesn't. Because we're only a month in, Evan, and all the guys I thought were the safe floor, they're going to be smashing, but they're going to be safe, are not safe. They're hurt. Or they're busts because their quarterbacks are hurt. And here are the running backs producing. So I'm just done. After a month, I am done trying to predict injuries. I'm done crafting my redraft strategy to be around safe players. I'm done. I'm done with that. Just completely done.
Incredible. Totally agree. No notes. This is the second straight year where the receiver injuries have been worse than the running back injuries. I think it's a trend, and we got to pay attention to it. Just lean more into the running backs because they do have higher upside than the receivers. There is the Puka Nakua. There is the Jamar Chase last year, or the Cooper Kupp, or the Deebo Samuel. You're going to have some massive hits to receiver too. There is upside there, but it's like 1 or 2 guys versus running back. It's like 10. So yeah, I can't wait to talk about this more in the off season, especially. But you're absolutely right. Who cares about the floor? Just draft for the ceiling, man.
Just draft for the damn ceiling. I don't care if it's a 10-team redraft office league or a 1,400 tournament-style DFS type league. Just draft for the upside. what will happen, what will happen. But at the end of the day, what are you doing if you draft from Florida? It ain't worth it. So, Evan, give us your third and final takeaway from the first 4 weeks of the NFL season.
Pocket passers are for losers. The top 10 quarterbacks in points per game right now are Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, May, Hurts, Caleb, Fields, Danny Dimes, Baker, and Daniels. Of that group, all 10 of them have over 3 points per game from rushing. I'll put that another way. This season, 14 quarterbacks have averaged over 3 points per game from rushing. Of those 14, 10 of them are over 20 points per game. If you draft a mobile quarterback, even if they're not very good at football, they still have very good odds of being a quarterback one in fantasy football. And then if we look on the other end of the spectrum, the best pure pocket passers, guys with under 2 rushing points per game right now, are guys like Carson Wentz, quarterback 11, Brock Purdy, quarterback 12, Jordan Love, quarterback 15. Those are the best hits from that pocket passer tier. On a weekly level, those pocket passers can still have elite upside, but over the course of a full season, the advantage of a mobile quarterback is it's still very much underrated.
Well, I don't know how to. I always wondered this question. What is the amount of touchdowns necessary from a pocket passer to push them into the Konami code tiers?
Like
And
top
it
5.
seems, even a little more expanded. Let's call it now with all the rushing quarterbacks. Let's call it top 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that threshold's 35, 40 touchdowns, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Which when you talk about it in August, it's easy to go, of course he could throw 35 touchdowns. Of course. But then you're just oftentimes reminded how tough it is in this league for high volume passing touchdowns. So for a guy, 30, 40 touchdowns, how many eclipse that mark? It doesn't seem like number worth chasing. And it just seems to me like, who cares? Who cares who are the guys that are considered like the best quarterbacks in the game that can throw the rock? Give me the runners. Because Justin Fields isn't going to pop up in anyone's top 15 in terms of quarterbacks in the NFL. But he's my number 2 quarterback this week. So it just, I agree. I think Konami code is the way to go. Even guys who are on that fence for are they going to be rushers or not. And the guy that comes to mind this year for me was Drake May, who I did not believe was going to run as much. But what I've come to see, in the game is he just is athletic to run when needed. And just that capability elevates you to a level where you can scamper in a 6-yard touchdown, which changes your fantasy day tremendously, especially in 4-point passing game touchdowns. 6-point rushers skyrocket. So I think it's time that we just, at the end of the day, if we know they can scamper a little bit, we know that they're going to be able to run the football, put them up in your ranks because those are the guys that make the biggest difference, and we know that even a month in.
And you don't need the rushing like Josh Allen or Lamar or Justin Fields. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is quarterback 3 right now because of his rushing, and he's not super athletic. He's smart with it, and he has to run, and he's been running when he has to. And then last note on this. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. Are you going to bang the table and say any of those guys have been like really good quarterbacks in real life this year? I don't think so. I think they can get there, a couple of them, but they're easily top 10 fantasy quarterbacks despite not really looking all that great in terms of real life football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want the Konami code guys in fantasy, there's no doubt about it. My third and final takeaway from the first month, I want to talk a little specific about only 2 players, and I want to bring up a couple stats because a month in, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Puka Nakua are playing the wide receiver position at an absolute elite level. Both of these guys have a 35 or more target share on their team. Puka has a 50% target share right now. It's unreal. This guy's getting so many targets. But Jackson Smith's also right up there at 35%. It's unbelievable. Both of these guys have a 4+ yards per route run metric. The next closest was a 2.67. So they're just on a different level right now in terms of their analytic profile. And then when I look at their target separation, JSN and Puka Elite 1.8. That's tied for second in the NFL amongst all wide receivers. And then, of course, Puka's smashing wide receiver 1 right now. JSN's wide receiver 7. But both of these wide receivers only have 1 touchdown each. Puka, 1 touchdown. JSN, 1 touchdown. The touchdowns are going to come. And when they do, these analytics tell us that they're just going to be absolute smash monsters. Now, Puka's been that. What are you going to do? He's just been unreal. But JSN, as good as JSN has been throughout the first month, there's still room for improvement when you look at some of these analytical statistics that I just mentioned. And so I just wanted to take a second to just give flowers to 2 receivers that have been smashing, because I started this whole takeaway segment mentioning how running backs have taken over the landscape and that these wide receivers just aren't doing it like we thought that they would. Well, there's a couple of them that are. JSN, Puka Elite, absolute smashing right now.
Yeah, and this is the second straight year that Puka, in terms of his efficiency metrics, have just blown everyone else out of the water. He is definitely in the conversation for best receiver in the league, definitely in the conversation for Dynasty wide receiver 1. And JSN, man, there's nothing he can't do either. Only thing holding him back is the offense itself. But, yeah, he can do everything you need a receiver to do.
So that's going to do it. Those are our top takeaways from the first month of the NFL season. We're going to get into some Week 5 streamers, but before we do, let's hear from today's sponsor.
You know, people say, oh, there's so much free on Player Profiler. What's in the premium package? Well, it starts with the player rankings. We have the best process for ranking and projecting players, not just seasonal leagues, though. We're talking about tight end premium, specifically FFPC, best ball, specifically underdog, including their Superflex rankings. And then we have IDP rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, Scott Fishbowl rankings, offensive line rankings by Dan Fornick, cornerback rankings throughout the season where you can see who's matched up with who. It's incredible. And think about who's contributed to our processes over time. Math majors, analytics powerhouses, plus you get the contributions from the real football guys. Billy Muzio, Dan Williamson, Bradley Stalder. That's why our rankings are the best. And if you want to upgrade and go all in, use promo code Underworld or your host promo code and you get $25 off.
All right, so we have streamers for week number 5. We each have a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and kicker for you Dinosaur League gamers out there. So, Evan, who is your week 5 quarterback streamer?
I don't know about you, but when I was looking at this, I had a really tough time. It's a rough week for quarterback streamers. I guess Mac Jones just got added to the mix, so I should shout that out. He is certainly up there with the guy I want to discuss, which is Bryce Young, 14% owned on ESPN right now. He's had some really juicy matchups lately that haven't come to fruition. But here's another one versus the Dolphins, which is one of the worst defenses in the league. And I'm hoping for the first time this season that the Panthers can actually get into a bit of a shootout, because the Panthers defense is really bad. The Dolphins defense is really bad. Just hope that these 2 Alabama quarterbacks, Bryce and Tua, can put up enough points to make this interesting.
So my quarterback streamer for week number 5, rookie quarterback Jackson Dart, who's about 35% rostered right now. I'm willing to take a chance on the kid because of 2 reasons. Number one, the matchup. Saints are the 12th most advantageous matchup for quarterbacks. And number 2, Jackson Dart already shows he's going to run a little bit. 54 rushing yards in his first start. He did add a rushing touchdown, so those 2 touchdowns on the day. QB 11 in terms of week 4 performance, 19.8 fantasy points. The offense is very QB friendly. Brian Daboll has always been very QB friendly in terms of how his offense is portrayed on the field. Jackson Dart here on the road, it's okay. The Saints don't present much troubles right now, considering the state of that team. Very advantageous matchup. Rushing ability. You just talked about the importance of the rushing quarterback in today's NFL. So if you need a quarterback, if you just lost Brock Purdy, or maybe you had Caleb Williams on a bye, go ahead and see if Jackson Dart is available. And in your 1 QB leagues, he definitely will be. He's only rostering about 35% of the sleeper league. So go pick up Jackson Dart as your week 5 streaming quarterback, or Bryce Young. So Evan, let's move on to running back. Who's your week 5 running back streamer?
I went with Michael Carter, who's 13% owned, but I would also I would probably play Amari DiMercato over Michael Carter in PPR specifically. But this is a great matchup for running backs. Last week on this show, we talked about targeting the Titans defense with our fantasy running backs. So I'm going to lean into that this week. I expect Michael Carter to get the majority of the carries in this offense, while DiMercato will get the majority of the passing game work. I think this pie is big enough against the Titans for both of them to be quality starters in our lineups.
I'm glad you brought up DiMercato, because the conversation right now in fantasy, the fantasyverse, is DiMercato versus Carter. Who's going to be the guy? It seems like Carter is going to get the early down work, supposedly. DiMercato is going to get the passing down work. So if you had the choice to pick up one, and I'm in a league, even, it's still 14-team league. It's still deep, but both guys were available in free agency. If you have a choice of one, who are you taking?
I'm going to cop out here, say PPR. Give me DiMercato. Half PPR. I'll go Michael Carter.
Good distinction. Fair distinction. Feels like I should call it lame, but I'm not going to, because it's true, though. It is true. Like, DiMercato showed even last week he's going to get the passing work, so he's definitely going to get it now with Trey Benson.
Yeah, and I should note that the Cardinals have thrown a lot to the running backs to start the season as well, so that makes DiMercato more appealing for sure.
But I also think your point is made that both should be rostered, both should be picked up, and if you need a flex play, like I'm playing DiMercato in one league, and I'm playing Michael Carter in another. So
sir.
They're both startable. My running back streamer this week is Kendre Miller, who's only rostered in about 8% of sleeper leagues. I have Kendre Miller ranked as running back 41 this week, but when I look at my rankings, I wouldn't be shocked if he's a top 30 running back on the week. This week he's going to go against the Giants, who have been a pretty soft matchup for running backs so far this season, and he's coming off a week in which he actually scored double-digit fantasy points, 12.5 fantasy points. He was running back 25 in the week, 65 total yards from scrimmage, added a touchdown, got 11 carries, 4 of which were in the red zone. So the Saints were allowing Kendre Miller to come on the field and take some carries and take some opportunities away from Alvin Kamara, which has been, his backfield alone for years. But it does seem like Kellen Moore is allowing Kendre Miller to get on the field, and if he's running hot, letting him get some snaps, letting him get some looks. And for a guy who's just not rostered in a whole lot of leagues, if you're desperate and if you had, Bucky Irving and you're reeling for a replacement or what have you, Kendre Miller might be out there, and Kendre Miller might get you double-digit fantasy points if he can score. And if these touches continue to get divvied out between, Kamara and Miller, which I could see happening based on where they are in this, in their careers for this franchise in the new regime. Time to get Kendre Miller now. Use him now if you need a streamer, and he might even be even more valuable as the season goes on.
Yeah, I love it. I think Kendre Miller is very talented. Hasn't really gotten the chance to shine yet in his NFL career. Very small sample size this year, but he does rank first in juke rate. He's evading tackles at a very high clip, and 16th in yards created per touch. So he's a very talented back. on a horrible offense with an aging running back that might even get traded. They have really no incentive to use Alvin Kamara other than just somebody to eat touches, versus they can see what they have in Kendre Miller, and maybe he's a real asset for them heading into 2026.
All right, Evan, let's move on to wide receiver. Who is your week 5 streamer at the position?
This one could be one of two guys. I'm going with Jalen Tolbert. If you want to say Kevontae Turpin, I would accept that as well, but he is questionable right now. Both are around 5% owned on ESPN. The Cowboys are playing the Jets this week, whose defense has been really bad to start the season. This should be the best fantasy game environment that we see this week. Two horrible defenses, but offenses that can put up points, especially the Cowboys offense. We saw them put up 40 on the Packers last week. Tolbert has been averaging 6 targets per game without CeeDee Lamb. With Turpin questionable, if he doesn't play, then that probably goes up to 7 or 8 targets for Tolbert. The Jets defense, very vulnerable. They currently rank 30th in EPA per dropback this season. I like Tolbert as a flex play.
I have Tolbert ranked right behind Cooper Kupp in my weekly rankings. What a world we live in today, Evan, where Cooper Kupp and Jalen Tolbert are ranked equally. My week 5 streamer is also a bit of a crazy thought, only a month in. Malik Washington for the Dolphins. They go up against Carolina Panthers this week. Panthers are not really an advantageous matchup for wide receivers, but I am betting on the roles shifting upwards in terms of, Tyreek Hill's out, Jalen Waddle shifts up, Malik Washington shifts up. Jalen Waddle has been rostered, has been started all season long. So I'm just going to follow suit. I think Malik Washington kind of falls into that role. We've seen him getting jet sweeps, engineered screens. It seems like they were trying to, acclimate him and get him more involved in the offense already. So now with the injury to Tyreek Hill, there's just that much more volume to be shifted around. So this week I have Malik Washington ranked as wide receiver 33. And to put some perspective on that, guys, I'm starting Malik Washington over in week 5. Guys like Calvin Ridley, Rashid Shaheed, Travis Hunter, Jerry Jeudy. I'm starting Malik Washington over all these guys. And I'm hoping for some big splash plays. It seems like now's the time for the Dolphins offense. They're getting hot coming off a win. Back-to-back weeks where the fantasy players were more than relevant. It seems like the offense is getting going a little bit. Carolina's been a tougher defense, but New England just dismantled them in week 4. So I'm looking for Malik Washington to have a nice week here as he fills in for Jalen Waddle, who's filling in for Tyreek Hill.
Right there with you, brother. Wide receiver 30 in my weekly projections right now, right ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. That's pretty crazy.
Wild.
Yeah, Miami plays. They play a ton of 11 personnel, 3 receivers on the field. A lot of times, even 4 receivers on the field. They don't love their tight end room, although Darren Waller is a big addition there. It seems like, but Malik Washington is going to be on the field, and it seems like he is more trusted by Mike McDaniel than Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Those are kind of the 2 guys that we're looking at for that wide receiver 2 role. Westbrook has been playing more, but not getting the touches that Washington has gotten. I think Washington is clearly more explosive, more upside there. And like we were talking about earlier, screw the safe play.
Yeah, I like that. Let's move on to tight end. Who's your week 5 tight end streamer?
I'm going right back to that Jets-Cowboys well. I can't get enough of it. That game environment just looks too tasty. I'm going with Mason Taylor, currently 5% owned on ESPN. Last week, Mason Taylor was second on the Jets with a 26% target share and second on the team with a 25% air yard share. That's really good usage for a rookie tight end that I liked a lot. And he's got a good chance to get into the end zone, too, when you look at this Cowboys defense.
The Cowboys defense has been an absolute dumpster fire.
And I love it.
Again. I mean, selfishly, I wish literally 32 defenses were like this so that all of our fantasy guys would just eat every single week. But that's just being selfish. But I agree. We saw a lot of usage out of Mason Taylor in week 4. and it feels like this is the type of thing that gets compounded on, where this was the nice base. We were going into the season speculating that why couldn't Mason Taylor be the number 2 pass catcher? There was no other definitive role. Like, no one was definitively the number 2 receiver. Alan Zard, get out of here with that. Josh Reynolds, get out of here with that. Mason Taylor is now showing out, and I think that this is just, the first few steps of his ascension to being fantasy relevant. So I think right now you stream him. And the great thing about tight ends, Evan, is today's streamer is, next month's consistent starter.
Absolutely.
So Mason Taylor's a guy you add now for a streaming role against the Cowboys, and then you look back next week and like, let's do it. Let's run it back. Oh, another 8 points, 9 points, 10 points, 12 points, 20 points. Boom. A month from now, you guys are still married. That's the beauty of streaming at tight end. My week 5 tight end streamer is way less sexy than Mason Taylor, rookie with upside. But a guy who's been around for some time but actually just had a massive game in week 4, Tommy Tremble from the Carolina Panthers. Jatavian Sanders, I think it's an absolute pipe dream to expect him to play in week 5. High ankle sprain, missed in week 4. We know. And if you tune in to Player Profiler, you know what we say here. High ankle effed. He ain't playing. So what's next? Looks like it's Tommy Tremble. Last week against the Patriots, 8 targets, 5 receptions, 42 yards, a touchdown. Tight end 6. 6 on the week. And this week they go up against the Miami Dolphins, who have been a pretty soft matchup across the board for fantasy players. We were just talking about Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor went off against this defense a week ago on Monday Night Football. Tommy Tremble is in line to be, the number 1 tight end on the team. Mitchell Evans, of course, rookie, long way to go. Tremble's been around. If Sanders misses again, which I fully expect that he will,
yeah,
Tremble slides right into a role that, again, is probably looking at the number 2 or 3 in terms of targets. It's going to go to Tet. After that, is it Hunter Renfrow? Maybe. Is it Xavier Legette? Doubt it. But it's going to be Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble's going to be, amongst the top pass catchers on this team. So right now he's rostered in approximately less than 1%. I looked it up, Evan. It said 0%, which he's rostered in my home league, so he can't be 0%. But it said 0%, so I put it in my notes as approximately 0%. So he's approximately available everywhere. And if you need a tight end, if you've just been in trouble at tight end, Tommy Tremble might be that guy for you, even though it seems like the most unsexy pick on planet Earth.
Yeah, I mean, it is unsexy, but he's probably going to get 5 or 6 targets, and if he catches 4 of them for 40 yards, that's a huge win. It's pretty simple.
Huge win. All right, so for our dinosaur leaguers out there, and I call dinosaur leagues the leagues that have DSTs and kickers, I'm in them. They're the most fun. I've been playing this game for decades, and I've always played with defense kickers, so I still love it. So we're going to talk about some defense streamers, some kicker streamers. Evan, what's your DST this week that people need to be streaming?
Well, you got the good one before me. The Browns and the Cardinals are both right around 50% owned. So check if they're available in your leagues. Cardinals have the Titans, of course, who can't move the ball on anybody, and the Browns are going against Carson Wentz. Both of those are just dream matchups. So love starting both of those teams.
You mentioned I had the first pick, and I did. I'm taking the New York Football Giants, who are rostered in about 10% of sleeper leagues. They go up against the New Orleans Saints, and we started to see the pass rushers get awake a little bit in week 4. We saw that a little bit against the Chargers, Kayvon Thibodeau and first-round pick Abdul Carter. And we're starting to see, Brian Burns. We're starting to see the pass rush as a whole getting going. We talked about Brian Burns last week starting to get going. But now the other players saw Dexter Lawrence get a pick 6. No, we're not going to expect that
my boy.
every week. Sexy Dexy. But this defense is starting to get cooking. We're starting to see these playmakers get going. They're going to head down to New Orleans. They're going to go against Spencer Rattler and the Saints, and they are going to have a field day. So if you need to stream a defense, look no further than the New York Football Giants. All right, Evan, let's give your kicker streamer of the week.
Everyone's favorite segment, right? Kickers are a complete crapshoot. I've done research on this, and I've figured out like almost nothing about kickers. But I'm going with Jason Myers. The Seahawks have been playing very conservatively this year under Mike McDonald, not going for a lot of fourth downs, making a lot of cowardly decisions, running the ball to kick a field goal instead of just trying to get a first down, stuff like that, which I think should lead to more field goal attempts than the average team. I can't prove that with numbers to you, but Myers had a good week last week, and I'm rolling with him again.
My kicker streamer of the week this week is Joshua Carty, who's rostered about 15% of sleeper leagues. For the Rams, you're going to have to get him before Thursday night, but we're talking about a guy who's been a double-digit kicker in fantasy, so that's good enough for me. The implied Vegas total for Carty, right around 26.25 fantasy team points, so called 26.5 team points for the Rams. He's been good. Again, I don't know much about kickers. I'm with you. You just put him on your team. He's kicking for a high octane offense. Give me Joshua Carty. 10% roster. Get Carty on your team. We got him ranked at kicker 5 on the player profile ranking. So get your guy now. All right, so that's it. Those are our week 5 streamers, and we're going to end the show with a few questions from the chat. Would you do a Marion Hampton and Worthy for Taylor and Wan'Dale in a redraft league PPR? So, Evan, you have a Marion Hampton and Xavier Worthy. Are you going to flip that for Jonathan Taylor and Wan'Dale Robinson?
This is a fun trade. I like this a lot. These are the kind of trades that get me going. I'll take the Jonathan Taylor and Wan'Dale side. I have Hampton very high in my rest of season rankings, but I have Taylor all the way up at running back 2. And the difference between Worthy and Wan'Dale is not huge in terms of just projections, although I will admit that Worthy has the higher ceiling for sure. But I want the hammer. The hammer is Jonathan Taylor.
You make a good point, Mr. Ringler. You make a good point. But I see this on paper, and I think to myself, Marion Hampton is coming off of back-to-back weeks where he was a top 5 running back stud. Xavier Worthy on a weekly basis should just smash Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm thinking I want Xavier Worthy and Marion Hampton. But I will admit, I get caught up in the sex appeal. I'm only a man. I can't deal with it all the time. But I think either way, I think at the end of the day, this is a fair trade. This is a good trade. These are the type of trades we want to see in redraft leagues. No shenanigans afoot. But I think we're a little split here, which is okay.
I think maybe one thing that could play a role here is the kind of depth we're working with in this league. Like, is Xavier Worthy an every week starter for you? If so, then that makes me want to hold the Hampton Worthy side a little bit more. But if if Worthy's more of a flex, sometimes on your bench guy, then I'm fine slotting Wan'Dale into that role instead.
That's a great distinction to make. Yeah, because there are situations in redraft leagues where you might have hit a little bit late. Maybe you grabbed Buka and Rome a little bit later in your redrafts, and you don't need Worthy on a weekly basis, and he's your fringe flex play. If that is the case, that's true. Because if you're talking Taylor versus Hampton weekly, I'm going to take Taylor every single week. Taylor's been so good. So that's a good distinction to make. He's got a follow-up question here. Start Tonges or Brenton Strange PPR?
Ooh, that's a fun one. That is really fun. Let's see. I have Strange ranked significantly ahead of Tonges. That's just because I don't think that this passing offense for the 49ers is going to do a ton against that Rams defense, especially that defensive line is just terrifying.
Yeah, that offensive matchup for the Niners seems like a tall task going into that Thursday night game. I'm going to go with Strange as well. I have him as a top 15 play at tight end. I think he could score about 10 fantasy points. He's been pretty good for the Jaguars on Monday Night Football. Last question, and we're going to get out of here tonight. Which two would we start? Skattebo, Henry, and Jeanty. Jeez, it's a pretty good start here. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the one guy I'm clearly starting here is Cam Skattebo. Didn't think I was going to be saying that in week 5. And then I'll take Derrick Henry, I suppose, as the other one. I still have my concerns about this Raiders offensive line. They lost their best O-lineman last week. So I think that Jeanty game might have been a fluke, even if it was great to see his talent play out on the NFL field. I don't quite believe it's going to maintain.
That's going to do it. That is this week's show. This is the game plan. Evan, let the people know. Where can they find you?
At Evan Ringler FF on X. And then besides that, all my work is at playerprofiler.com. I got a sleep stream stash on this channel. We go live 3:30 p.m. EST on Fridays, so check that out as well. And see you guys next week.
Yes, sir. Make sure you're subscribed to the Player Profiler channel. Smash that like button and leave a comment. Who are some of your favorite streamers for week 5? You can follow me on X. I'm at Matty Kiwoom. And of course, this is the game plan where each and every one of you fantasy managers can come to get an edge to dominate your leagues. We will keep game planning, my friends, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.